2024, the Wilhelm.
And what about the audio black hole?
Oh, the black hole? The sonic charges you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's another famous one, I guess. In Attack of the Clones, there's a scene where Jango Fett drops a torpedo, a bomb off of his spaceship into the path of Obi-Wan's fighter craft, and a huge explosion, and tries to stop him. And when we're putting this mix together, I made a sound for this explosion in space. There is no sound in space, by the way. So I was violating all the laws of physics that I was taught. But I was always trying to think, well, if there was an explosion in space, what would it sound like if you could hear it? And I made up this kind of twanging sound and put it in the mix, and something didn't quite have the impact that I wanted. And then I thought of something which is delaying the sound. Just like the relationship between lightning and then thunder, that you rarely hear those in sync with each other unless it's right overhead. There's a flash, and then moments later the boom of thunder. I thought I'd capitalize on our familiarity with that kind of experience. So I delayed the sound for almost a second, and so it's 21 frames. So those of you out there trying to do it, it's 21 frames. And just have complete silence. And it's one of the things you learn doing sound in, say, a highly densely packed action picture is that you have to have dynamics. There has to be quiet moments if you want something that follows to seem loud. You have to have contrast. You have to have scenes in your movie without music, and then when music comes in, it's fresh, or have silence is good to have, or near silence. And so we put in this gap of almost a second with no sound. Then you hear the sound. And it comes as a surprise to the audience, but then it's a pleasant surprise because it's what you expected to hear. And so you tease a little bit, and then bang, it's there. I didn't realize, but it gave everybody a real pleasure. It was pleasure producing. I don't know why exactly. But I think it had to do with our experience with thunder and lightning, because we know that thunder is a hugely energetic, part of nature, and so it gave scale to the sound, to contrast something that was derived out of our own experience, mimicking our own experience. So, yeah, the sonic charges.
In the second Star Wars trilogy, that in fact is a prequel of the first trilogy, you are also the editor of the movie. How was that experience? Why George Lucas called you to be the editor?
Well, what had happened, I was always around the editing room observing what was going on as the first trilogy was cut. Because the sound was included in the daily process, so I was aware of what was going on in the picture. On occasion I could venture a suggestion or something, But when it came to the prequels, to rewind just a bit, we worked on a series called The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles back in the mid-90s, a television show dramatizing adventures in the life of young Indiana Jones. And I was involved in that series because George Lucas liked to do pre-production and create temporary storyboards for action sequences so that you could work out the editorial issues cheaply, quickly, and with flexibility before you had to go out and shoot the real expensive shooting. And he knew that I knew a lot about old movies and battles and dogfights and airplanes. And so he asked me to find all this footage and put it together as a little storyboard. And so I started cutting it together using a tool he had invented called the Edit Droid, which was an early editing system on video. Shoot on film, edit on video. And so I started putting together these sequences, and then we needed to shoot a few things with actual people pretending to be our characters, and so I shot that. And when I was just my friends, backyard filmmaking again, I dressed up as young Indy, of course, and rode a horse and did things, and sometimes George would film from a moving truck or something. So I just got more involved in the editorial process, the second unit directing, and that just led to, on Young Indy, it eventually led to me directing one of the movies and doing parts, second unit, stunts and visual effect shots for the whole series. So I had grown out of my position as just a sound designer. I still had that responsibility, but now I attached to it editing and some directing. So I was a useful tool. And sometimes they say in the United States, you're a Swiss Army knife. You know, you unfold the corkscrew and the blade and so on. That's what I was. I was a Swiss Army knife. You know, so they hired an editor to. I started developing the pod race and other things months before shooting, and there were two editors. Martin Smith on Phantom Menace came along, and he started assembling the dailies on the scenes, and we kind of split it. I was sort of doing the action sequences and the sequences that were involved a lot of visual effects, and Martin was focusing on the more dialogue-oriented sequences, and eventually we were just sharing the cutting on the whole movie, and it went on, and on Attack of the Clones, I was the only editor. It's a pretty overwhelming job on a film like that to do second unit editing and the sound design. It's not enough hours in a day. On the third one, a really good editor joined me, Roger Barton, and so we could split the editorial task up.